Welcome to the test review for topics 3 and 4. In this video, we're going to start with number 8. So, on number 8, I'm going to use substitution. I think most people use elimination, but just in case you're wondering what substitution looks like or trying to remember, I'm going to do the first equation where I solve for y. And then I'm going to take the first equation, which is 3x minus 12, and I'm going to plug it into the second equation. So now I have negative x plus 8 times 3x minus 12 equals negative 4. And I'm going to simplify that. So now I have negative x plus 24x minus 96 equals negative 4. I'm going to add the x's together, which will give me 23x. I'm going to add the 96 to the other side, and that'll give me 92. Dividing 23 on both sides, x will be equal to x equals 4. Okay, I have one part of the point. I need to find what y equals, so I'm going to take 4, plug it back into one of the original equations. I'm going to use that y equals 3x minus 12, and if I plug 4 in, I get 12 minus 12, which is 0. So the answer is 4, 0. Okay, for number 9, I'm going to use elimination on this problem. So in order to make a 0, I'm going to work on the x's. Let's make 0 with the x's. So if I multiply by negative 1 everywhere, I get a 0 for the negative 2 plus 2. And then I'm also going to have a negative 3 plus 3, and then negative 21. 0 is not equal to negative 21. If you have anything like this, you're going to look at the statement. If it's false, it's going to be no solution. In other words, these are two lines that do not cross, or they're parallel lines. Okay, next problem. Let's do problem number 10. Now, you're going to have to manually use elimination on problems with 3 variables. So I'm going to number the equations. First one is going to be 1, and then number 2, and number 3. I cannot do elimination on all 3 at once. I'm going to have to do 2 at a time. So I'm going to start with 1 and 2. So I'll write those out. And then I need to figure out what I'm going to multiply by. What I do is I eliminate the x's first, then the y's, and then I work on the z's. So what I'm going to do is start with the x's. It doesn't matter. You don't have to start with the x's, but that's what I prefer to do. So if I multiply everything by negative 2, the 2 minus 2 will make a 0 for the x's. For the y's, it'll be a positive 1, because that's a positive 2 minus 1. And for the z's, that'll be a negative 2 and a 5, so that'll make a positive 3. And then the 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 plus 4 makes 10. Okay, so in order to do the next 2, remember I have to incorporate all 3 equations. And sometimes I will duplicate one of the equations. So right now I did 1 and 2. Now I'm going to do 2 and 3. So we're going to do elimination on those. And write out the first equation. Write out the second equation. And then I have to decide how I'm going to do an elimination. Remember that when you do the 1 and 2, 2 and 3, you have to eliminate the same variable. So in this case, since I already eliminated x, I have to eliminate x again, which means I'm going to multiply by -2. So 4 minus 4 gives me 0. That's going to be a +2 plus 2 is 4y. And then that -2 times 5 is a -10. And -10 plus a -1 is -11. And then I've got -8 plus 2 is -6. Okay, so now I've officially gotten rid of all the x's. Now I can take my 4y minus 11z equals -6, and the y plus 3z equals 10 from the previous answer. And if I do elimination on that, I'm going to go ahead and stay in order, and I'm going to eliminate the y's. So it's going to be -4 all the way across, so that I'll have 4y minus 4y, and that'll make 0. And then I've got a -11 and a -12, which will make a -23z. And for my next one, I'll have -40 plus a -6 is -46. And that means that z equals 2. Now that I have one variable, I can go back up to one of the previous equations, and I like that y plus 3z equals 10. But in place of z, I'm going to put 2, because that's what z equals. And then I'm going to subtract the 2 times 3 over, so that's basically subtracting 6. And 10 minus 6 will give me 4. So now I've got y equals 4 and z equals 2. Now I'm going to go back up to one of the previous equations. Let's try that first one, number 1. And I'm going to have x minus 4 plus 2 equals -3. I'm going to go ahead and put the 4 and the 2 on the other side, so it's going to be subtracting the 2 and adding the 4. And so x equals -1. Therefore, my answer is -1, 4, 2. Okay, let's try it again. Remember that I have 3 equations, so I'm going to number them 1, 2, and 3. It does not matter which ones you do. You can do any combination of the 2 equations that you pick. So in this case, I picked 1 and 2. So 5x plus y minus z equals 40. I'm going to go ahead and write them down here. Okay. And this one's going to be kind of big because I have to multiply by 5, but that's okay. We're going to go multiply by -5 everywhere, so that 5x minus 5x will make 0. Remember, I'm starting with my x's. So that'll make a -35 plus 1y is a -34y. And -20z plus another -1z is a -21z. And that -5 times 44 is a -220. So if you add 40 to that, you get a -180. So I'm going to go ahead and take my other 2 equations. I decided to do equation number 2 and equation number 3. So I'm going to write those out real quick. So equation number 1, and then here's equation number 2, or excuse me, equation number 2 and equation number 3. Okay, so I've lucked out. I can make those x's into 0 because it's basically 1x minus 1x. So I add the others, that's 10y plus 5z equals 60. Okay, so I have my two new equations that I can put together now. I'm just going to get rid of the 0 in the front. I don't really need that. So 10y plus 5z equals 60, and negative 34y minus 21z equals negative 180. And for some reason, I just don't like that 10 and 34 because I know the numbers are going to be bigger. So I've got, I'm going to multiply by 5 and 21. So notice how I didn't write the 21 all the way across the top. I just put it in the front to show that I'm multiplying. And if I multiply 5 times 21, that makes 105. So 105 minus 105 gives me a 0. Notice that I picked to eliminate the z's, which normally I do it in order, but you know what? This time I just decided to do what I felt like doing, and it's going to work out just fine. So that 10y makes 210. And the negative 34y makes negative 170. And 210 minus 170 is 40y, or excuse me, 40y. And so we have 60 times 21 is 1,260. And 5 times negative 180 is a negative 900. And if I add that together, that'll make 360. And I'm going to have y equals 9. And I noticed I should have made that a y instead of a x. So let me fix that. Sometimes you just get on a roll and you can't stop writing x. So, okay, so y equals 9. I'm going to plug that back into one of those original equations. So I've got 10y, which I'm going to plug in 9 instead of y there because y equals 9, plus 5z equals 60. And if I subtract that 90 over on the other side, because 5 times 9 is 90. So I'm going to subtract that, and that'll give me a negative 30. And z equals negative 6. So now I've got negative 6 and 9. Almost done. I have to go find one of the original equations and go solve for x. So x plus 7y, I'm using equation number 2. So I've got x plus 7 times 9 plus 4 times negative 6 equals 44. So x plus 63 minus 24 equals 44. If I subtract 63 minus 24 is 39. So if I subtract 39 over on the other side, I will get x equals 5. Okay, so my final answer is going to be 5, comma 9, comma negative 6. Okay. Number 12. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use matrices. And here's my biggest suggestion. know how to put it into the matrix equation. If you know how that equation works, then it'll make solving or answering questions about matrices easier. So I'm going to use the matrix A with a matrix of x comma y, which is the point of intersection. Remember, we are always trying to find the point where the lines intersect. So I set up my matrix A and matrix B. Now the only way that it'll work in the calculator is to multiply the inverse of A, so it's A inverse times B, okay? So in this case, I'm going to put it in the calculator, and the answer is 2 comma negative 2. Now, if you need to go back and check how to put this in the calculator, go back to one of our previous videos that we did during the chapter, and if you have any questions, let me know, okay? But for these, I'm going to skip that part because I think that we're okay with that, and I'm just going to write out what the matrix equation would look like because that's actually something that everybody needs to know. So for number 13, we have XYZ, and for B, we have 3, negative 8, and 2. Again, I'm going to put it in the calculator. It's got to be A inverse B. Remember, you're going to use inverse on your equations, and basically if it just says do an inverse, okay? But every equation that is set up like this has to be A inverse B, okay? So my answer for this, for number 13, is 5 comma 1 comma negative 3. Okay, so let's do the next one. Now, the next one is where you have just some matrices that you have to load into the calculator. So what I've done is I've simply just loaded them in, found the answer, and written the answers out for you here. And this is 14 through 19, okay? Just make sure that A times C, you're actually multiplying A times C. A needs to go first before C. Do it in the order that they say to do it, or it'll be wrong, okay? Remember that sometimes it's not possible because D times E, the dimensions don't match. So D is a 2 by 3, E is a 2 by 3. Well, the reason why they don't match is because the two middle numbers are not equal. The two middle numbers have to be equal, like I show here with the 3 and the 2. Okay? Again, the inverses are like 17, 18, and 19. If it says to do an inverse, do an inverse. Just make sure you put it in the correct order that is shown on your paper. Okay? All right. I think that's it for this one. Let's do the 20, 21, and 22. 20 is, it says the first row and the second column, where notice where the intersection is, that's 5. So it's basically the answer is just 5. Okay? Notice also that these answers are in fraction form. So if you go to your calculator and hit the math button, okay, and press math and then enter, it'll make those into the fractions that you see here for these answers. Again, for 21 and 22, you're doing an inverse. Just make sure that you put them in the right order. And for 22, see it's C times B. That's because C has to go first before B. Okay? All right, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and check out the other videos on this test review. Good luck.